Grown Folks Production. In the mix. With the commish, Nate.
All right, everybody, welcome to season 103. We're deep in it already. We're already to week number 3 here in season 103, but welcome to Press Pass Live. I appreciate you being here. We missed yesterday. It's because Nate got super busy with work, wasn't able to knock off early, but I was able to get everything I need to get done today so that we can knock off a little early and come hang out with you. I appreciate you. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Go post it on Twitter, Discord, get your friends in here. Let's talk about the OMFL here in season 103. But before we get going, Mr. Trey, how you doing today, bud?
Better now that I have this thing called shoulder relief.
Yeah, we possibly popped our shoulder out of whack.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can dislocate your shoulder in your sleep and not realize it.
Yeah, I tried to tell him that this is called old age. He's trying to sell me that he's only 26, and I'm still telling him I don't care how old the number is. When your body decides you's old, you is old. Oh, look, the EA servers came back up. Great. So we can go and we can jump right back into it. This happened to me yesterday, where as I got rolling here, the internet started to take a dump. They are still working on it, and the fiber is not ready and still just driving me insane. I need to call them again, but hopefully everything hangs in there precisely as we need it to. If not, I'm going to keep it rolling, because once we end it, it doesn't matter if it's a lag. It'll still be clear just like it was yesterday. Anyway, don't worry about it. Come hang out with us. What's up, Bird? Good to see you. Good to see you, Priest. Good to see you, Kev. Love you guys. Glad that you are hanging out with us. All right, let's talk about the OMFL. Season 103 is here. Let's talk about our favorite games. I'm going to let you go first, good sir. You got week 1, you got week 2, and even a couple of week 3 games here. Which one we picking?
I'm dabbling into week 2, and it is a great matchup that I got to actually watch. And it was also the NFC Championship rematch between the Falcons and the Commanders.
What caught your eye? You got to watch this one, you said.
Yeah, well, it started off, Kobe was getting pulverized, and then he came back in the second quarter and played excessively well. And they had a tight third quarter. Penguins had a lead late in the fourth. Kobe took a kickoff, or a punt return, back for a touchdown that got him back in the game, and I believe he got one shot at the end zone and fell just short on the last play of the game.
There were 10 sacks in this game, 5 interceptions in this game, no rusher over 100 yards in this game, but yet one team had 21 first downs. I think that was the Commanders, and one team had 15 first downs, so tons of first downs, tons of moving the ball. Calvin Ridley, he goes off 7 for 122, but no touchdowns. Pitts throws in another 8 for 118. That guy's a monster to try to cover. No one really super sexy over on the Commanders side, but he really got it done with his defense. Holcomb, 12 tackles. 3 of them were tackles for loss. His sack leader was Young at 2.5, but he also had Curl, who had 1. The third-year guy out of Arkansas. All my Arkansas brethren in here just got super excited. Curl also threw in an interception. Davis with an interception. Bobby McCain with an interception. This was a really stupid, crazy game. Back and forth. 24-7 after the first quarter. Just to turn around and be a 20-7 second quarter. And then both teams decided, let's play defense in the second half. Ends up 44-36. Washington Commanders are your victorious team. What do you take away from this game? Is there anything we can take away as we look towards season 103 here, and maybe some predictions coming up in a minute?
It's once again the NFC showing that there's talent coming from any which direction. We saw these guys in the NFC Championship, but that was a very low scoring game. I believe it was 23-13, and then they come back a couple games later and they're throwing up 44-36. You never know with the NFC. You can get shootouts or you can get defensive battles. It's fun to watch.
This feels like low-hanging fruit, and I bob between the Buffalo game and your game, but this game I'm going to go with is you versus Priest and the Packers, just because you're both here, and there's a little bit of a budding rivalry starting to happen here. Priest gave it to me in week number 1, forced me into some just crazy interceptions, and he played exceptionally well. He outplayed me. Then comes into week number 2. Both of you talking some smack in this one in the offseason. It's a 7-7 game. You take a 14-7 lead in the halftime, and then both offenses...
I'm going to pause you.
Pause me.
These stats weren't what actually happened. Our game didn't say.
Well, then we're not going to talk about your game. Well, tell me a little bit about your game. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it.
It was a very back and forth defensive battle between me and Priest, and finally towards I think the third quarter is when Priest started to slow down and I started revving up the engine.
Yeah, I can't keep up with what games record and what games don't record. Yeah. I'm still fingers crossed hoping this update drops any day now. So let's talk about the Eagles. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. 14-14 going into half, and then both teams went, nah, let's not play offense in the second half. Comes away with a 20-14 victory against this one was a sim too. Gosh darn it. I just remembered that because I remember looking at Bill trying to do some scouting as we got ready for my game in week number 3. And I noticed, that's right. He didn't play this one. Problem, Nate.
I don't know if these are counting if people are playing, because I know that Outlaw played the computer last week, but it said he didn't play at all. And I also know this for a fact because games were still being played, and that score had already been reached.
Listen, folks, we do the best with what the tools we have been given. It is what it is. There's still some really good games. I know my season so far has been up and down all over the place. I had an infuriating game against Priest and the Packers, somehow get lucky and beat Kevin and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just to come back and play against Von Miller, who put himself in the Pro Bowl last night with like 4 back-to-back sacks. I couldn't get anything going, had no answer for the blitz from the Buffalo Bills, had no answer of how to protect myself against Von Miller or any other user that Bill decided to grab. It just was infuriating. And so I think we've got a lot that we can unpack. I appreciate you guys for just having some really great games. We'll get back to like picking games as soon as I get this stupid patch fixed. But right now, it's time to do some predictions. I want to talk about the different divisions in each of these leagues. And normally, we go through the AFC, and then we slowly work our way to the NFC. I'm reverse engineering it this season. Season 103 is a little bit different. Let's go ahead and talk about the NFC West. You got the 49ers already off to a 2-0 start. The Rams 1-2. The Cardinals 0-2, which is a head scratcher there, Bird. You were playing so great last season. And the Seahawks at 0-2. What are your predictions for the NFC South in season 103?
Hey, we're talking about the West, not the South. I think it's D money to lose. Somebody's got to step up to the plate and and if they can, they've got a shot. Like D money doesn't have those times where he disappears for 3 or 4 sims. That's the time that these, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and Rams that need to capitalize and take those and catch up on them.
Yeah, the Cardinals to me are the team that's a bit of a head scratcher all of a sudden. Look, he scored 30 points for him, which is not normally like him. It's the least in this division, but he's given up 67 points against him, which is second most in this division. Off to an 0-2
start.
Go
against the Bears and the Browns. So.
I know that, but like I've seen him beat teams like the Bears, and he just got absolutely demolished. The Browns, yeah, sure, I'll give you a tip to the cap there. Almost a back-to-back champion, but a one-time champion, back-to-back representative.
We'll get to hurt later.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are a team I expected, and I do expect we'll get things turned around. I agree with you. The 49ers are here to stay until somebody steps up and knocks him off. We'll see if he actually is able to be around for the playoffs. He got married last time. Pretty good excuse to be able to not play in the playoffs. But I wonder, if there's a bit of a drive for him now. Had to give up his playoff run. the team who beats him, CPU, goes on to win the whole thing. Just like the playoffs could have looked much, much more different. Let's see if the Cardinals can turn things around. I'm always pulling for Tim. New guy over with Seahawks is just a really good dude, asking a lot of good questions, but they both have a long way to go to kind of prove themselves. Plenty of offense from the Rams. Just going to have to get him to play a little bit of defense. NFC East, the Commanders are sitting at 2-0. The Giants at 2-0. We've seen what Colin can do with that team. The Cowboys at 1-1, but one of those games, unfortunately, was a sim. I'm pretty sure is that maybe it's this week that he's going to have a sim. But either way, the Eagles are at 0-2, but both of those were really close games. 38 points for him, 47 points against him. I'm going to go first on this one. I do think that the Commanders, Giants, and Cowboys battle it out. I like to see Twinkie make a run for it. He's going to push these dudes. I still think he's a draft away before he can put all the pieces together. I like the Commanders to win this one. Cowboys are going to fight him tooth and nail as they come down the stretch. Look for Colin to be in there. It would not surprise me if all these three teams are separated by a game and a half. What's going to matter the most is how they stack up against each other. Give me the Commanders, but I like Giants and Cowboys both to get a wild card spot. I see three teams making it in from the playoffs from the NFC East. What do you see?
I see pretty much the same thing, but I see Giants coming out here. I think the Commanders are off to a hot start. I think they're going to get cooled off towards the back half of the season.
What do you think the Cowboys are going to do? Off to a 1-1 start.
It's interesting because he's for sure got the run of the mill because he already played D-Money and he took his L on the chin. He's got me down, I believe, in a couple weeks, and he's also got a matchup against you. So there's those matchups. I don't know what the rest of the schedule looks like, but he's also got those really hard matchups against the Commanders and Giants. I see Twinkie maybe giving them also all three of them a run for their money in each game, but I agree that one draft away from potentially being a competitor for the division.
What in the world is going on with my NFC South? Saints are at 1-2, two really tough losses. The offense just cannot get going with a rookie quarterback. Too many mistakes. The Buccaneers sitting at 2-1, but it hasn't been pretty. 69 points for him, 61 points against him. The Panthers are at 1-1, and then your champion, OMFL season 102 champion Falcons, are sitting at 1-2. 84 points for him, 85 points against him. What's going on over here at the NFC South?
It's shooting an apple into a barrel and hoping it floats. That's the way I can describe that. It's very entertaining to watch from the sides.
Sounds like the most Canadian example ever. Apples and barrels and floating. Tell me what your predictions. Who comes out in this one?
I think we saw it happen last season. Kobe had a slow start and got off on the second half of the season and was able to make the wild card. I think we're going to see something similar to that this year.
I do think that this is the season in life that hits him the hardest, and so it would not surprise me if Kobe does take a step back. Doesn't surprise me if he makes a run as well. I like the Buccaneers to win this division. Look for the Panthers to fight him. Look, I'm going to take my Saints out of it. I just think rookie quarterback, I'm making way too many mistakes. I'm not sticking with Kamara enough. My offensive line has completely forgotten how to block. My left tackle's hurt for the next couple of weeks. It's just off to a really tough start. I like the Buccaneers to win the division. Panthers, Falcons will push him. I just think that NFC East is just way, way, way too good. NFC North, Chicago Bears 2-0, Detroit Lions 2-1, the Green Bay Packers 2-1, but already have a loss to your Lions. The Vikings sitting at 0-3. Not something I expected to see from the Vikings. Quite the teams that we have here. 73 points for the Chicago Bears, only 13 points against. Every other team here is given up just about the same amount of points, if not more, than the Bears have scored. 13 points in 2 games. I know he's still got to play his third game here, but that's pretty magnificent. I think this is going to be a fun division. Every time I pick Big Hurt, something happens. What's up, Shocks? Something happens and Big Hurt disappears or just doesn't stumbles out of the block or doesn't finish strong. I don't know. I know that this guy's a past champion. I know what he can do when he is focused and honed in. But I always tend to believe guys who play in multiple leagues, it's hard to stay hot in every league. And sometimes getting cold in one league leads to the other, and it just kind of blends all together. I think it's just hard. And as far as I know, I think Big Hurt plays in multiple leagues. I'm going Detroit Lions. I stick with the old faithfuls in this. Look for the Bears and Packers to push them. What it's really going to depend on is what happens. I think I'm going to sneeze here in a second. Oh, my bad. Couldn't mute anything. Couldn't do anything. It is what it is. I needed one of those just fat mute buttons. But I think the Bears and Packers are going to battle the Lions for this one. But it's going to depend on what happens over there with the Giants, the Commanders, the Cowboys. How are they doing? Are they beating up on each other? Are you guys all beating up on each other? That's kind of determine which one of these teams make a wild card. Those two are going to be really fun division races, though, to watch as we continue to go on into season 103. How do you see your own division coming out?
Well, because I like the aspect of how the NFC season worked out. It's the NFC South versus the NFC North and the NFC East versus the NFC West. So we've got matchups with what looks to be the second weakest division. Am I fair to say this? Or maybe even the weakest, because you're putting D-Money in the West division. It's gonna be fun to watch. I know me and Hurt talked a little bit in the off season, and he was looking prepared and ready to make a run for it, and he's proven it. And it's one of those things. Priest gave me that run last year, and Hurt's putting that pressure on me this year. I definitely could see any one of the three of us taking the division. I know Santa, I feel bad because Santa essentially eliminated himself with 2 trades this season. He's traded away Dalvin Cook and he's traded away Justin Jefferson. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's essentially eliminated him.
I think he's just hitting the reset button. He's getting some picks, freeing up some money, just going to hit the reset button and let's build our own roster here. But it does mean you got to take a step back for a bit. And I like Santa and hope he can rebuild pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm hoping that these trades work out for him, but it's one that when you were a playoff team last year, I don't understand going into rebuild mode this early. I could understand if you're losing games come around trade deadline time, making those moves, but to make them in weeks 1 and 2, I don't get it.
Well, give me your prediction.
I see me coming out on top. It's of the three of us, I seem to be the most consistent. Hurt and Priest both. They'll have their hot spears and then they cool off. We saw it with Priest last year. I think he started off 7-1 and then finished the season with 2 more wins. And we haven't seen the exact consistency from Hurt with the Bears, but we've seen it in previous teams where he'll have those hot spurs. I've consistently been, a 11, 12 win team with the Lions. So I think that will be the point of where if Hurt can keep up and Priest can keep up, it'll be a very interesting spot, but I just don't see them getting to that 12, 13 win area.
Any wild card teams out of there?
I can definitely see Hurt or Priest sneaking in. It's with how talented both the North and the South are showing, East are showing, it's going to be tough to pick any one of those teams to not make it.
Let's go to the AFC West now. We got the Raiders at 2-1, the Broncos at 3-0, Shocks, my dude, at 2-1, and what is this? Pepper and his Chargers at 0-3 is one of the hottest teams. He was the team we thought could represent the AFC in the championship game before kind of ran up against a unlucky buzzsaw in the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs. He's sitting at 0-3. He's given up 113 points on defense, off to a really slow start, and only scored 30 points so far in 3 games. That's just not going to cut it. What do you see happening here in the AFC West?
Wait till Pepper's actually around. Pepper hasn't played yet.
Okay, so I thought he was away. I wasn't 100% sure if he missed all 3 games.
My understanding, all of these have been his computer. So everybody's going to beat up on the computer. Let's see what happens when Pepper gets back on the sticks. I know he doesn't have Khalil Mack anymore, so he doesn't have the 2-headed monster. We'll see if his offense can rev up and carry the team.
Low key could be a really great division. I always say when the Raiders and Broncos are winning, it makes the AFC that much better. These are two quality coaches, quality teams that just can't seem to put them together season in, season out. We'll see if they can finish strong. We've all seen this, as you stated. We've all seen teams start out hot. We got to see if they can finish. Shocks is my dude. He's my guy. I'm pulling for him. I hope he continues to win here. He's got the formula figured out. 79 points for him, 43 points against him. That's always going to help the cause.
Majority of that 43 was from me.
There you go. So he's playing pretty good defense over there. And so I don't know. I don't even know who to pick in this division. It depends on how many more games Pepper misses here and how many more holes kind of get dug for him. You know, you miss a couple during Christmas, a couple during Thanksgiving, which are yet to get here. Like, it could be too large of a hole to dig out of. We've seen the Broncos win it all before. He's a past champion. I'm pretty sure at least get there. At least he represented. I can't remember if he actually won it all. We've seen the Raiders make deep runs. I'm pulling for the Chiefs. I don't know who to go with here. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Broncos to win the division. We'll see how I feel about wild card, but it wouldn't surprise me if at least one team gets a wild card here out of the AFC West. Let's talk about the AFC East. Dolphins 2-0. They knocked off that said mighty team and Pepper and his Chargers last season. Patriots, he continues to rebuild and just stay steady Eddie. He's my dude as well. Losses got that team at 2-1. We've seen what Bill can do. He's sitting at 2-1. And the Jets, unfortunately, are at 0-2. Judge just feels busy right now. I'm sure the holidays are not easy for his job. And so I'm interested, long term, is he able to put the pieces? Because we've seen him put them together. It just seems like the defense isn't coming together as he would hope. But boy, another really great race. And one of the questions in the mailbag talks about parity, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. But man, this could be a lot like the other one, a lot like some of those NFC races. It could be really fun to watch these teams beat up on each other as they kind of go down the stretches here. Give me the Dolphins to win it. Bills, Patriots to battle for a wild card spot, but that's going to spread out over all the AFC teams. So I don't know that two teams come out of this division, but I do like the Dolphins to win it. How do you see the AFC East coming out?
I have Bill coming up and winning this one. Bill's playing that weird style of football from what I've seen. You just don't expect him to have these close battles, but he always just seems to find that last piece to get that win. I think that's going to come down in these clutch games in the division, and I see it going Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets.
Wow, the team I picked 1, you picked 3. That's interesting. Let's move over to the AFC South. Of course, this division has changed the most dramatically in the last 3 seasons. All the drama, all the issues came from this division, and now we've got a whole new plethora of owners who are really staying focused, and I'm glad my guy Raj is back home and able to focus and play a little bit more. We got the Jaguars at 2-0, Colts at 1-2, Texans at 0-2, Titans at 0-2. A lot of funky stats here. This one's really up in the air. What do you see happening out of the AFC South?
I think this is Duval's to run away with. He's got his team. He got them at a late point last year and couldn't really put the puzzle pieces together fully to make that run in the playoffs. But now that he's got a full season with him, he's had the off season. I expect him to take this one with potentially the Colts giving him a run for the money.
Yeah, look, we've seen Cincyberg, past champion here. Of course, he did that with the Bengals. He's now over here with the Colts, which is a bit of a rebuild. Of course, I can't follow every team every offseason, so I'm not sure how much of that rebuild worked out for him. We know that Raj can put it together. It's just, Raj's health allow him to pull it together. I'm hoping he's going to turn things around here. And then it's not Judge. It is Judge, right? Judge is the Titans.
No, that is
Truth. It's Truth. Truth is another one that we've seen put it together and make some runs. Now, look, they're off to an 0-2, 1-2 start. Not a great way to come out, but it's still plenty of time to turn things around. I think this could be a fun division. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jaguars as well, though. I like the start that the Jaguars are off to. He has his favorite team. He's playing really good defense, which is going to help kind of that resume building. We'll see how far they can go in the playoffs, but he made a run last year, kind of represented himself well in the playoffs. I like the Jaguars to come out of this one. I'm going to need to see more from the other three teams. I know they have it in them. The potential's there. I don't see any other wild cards coming out of here. That's how we both see the AFC South. And then we got one more. The AFC North. Ravens at 2-1. Browns at 2-1. Bengals at 1-2. And then Outlaw at 0-2 if he doesn't retire. Because who knows? Every 30 seconds, Outlaw is telling us how terrible of a player he is and how much he should retire. Thankfully, we don't all think that way, or none of us would stay playing here because we hit skids sometimes. And I hear you, Outlaw, but I believe in you. Just got to get focused, get things turned around right there in Pittsburgh. You did some weird trades. You probably should have thought about that one and thought we had a little bit more. Ravens Nipples is back around. He's playing pretty good offense. The defense is a little shaky there. 2 games, 44 points. Browns, though, they've represented the different teams, but they've represented the OMFL Bowl in the AFC the last 2 seasons. We've seen the Bengals go on runs and make a bunch of plays. So there's a lot here that can still happen. How do you see the AFC North playing out?
Yeah, Nips is back in action. He seems locked in, and it's always been the case. When he's locked in, it's his division to run away with, and he's got a matchup with the Bears. I think it's being simmed, or is it being played later tonight? I'm going to try and find my eyes on that game. The Bengals this week because as we're in week 3, they actually beat the Browns, so that's showing you something. It's looking like those 3 teams between Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati could all make a run for that division. I definitely, though, see Nipples walking away with it because Nipples checked in is very hard to beat.
Yeah. Browns were gone for a bit on a little bit of a getaway vacation, and yet he's still sitting here at 2-1, and he is back. I like the Browns to win it. I'm going to stick with the guy who's represented the AFC the last 2 times. Yes, plugged-in Nipples is going to give him a run for his money. We'll have to still see, though, can that defense hold up? We know that the Browns can play pretty good defense, but even when they don't, they have all the offensive firepower in the world. Give me the Browns to win it. Look for the Bengals to turn things around, make a run here. Ravens are going to keep pushing him. I do see a wild card coming out of here. If I had to pick one, I would go with the Ravens winning this one. So Browns win the division. Ravens, I see grabbing a wild card. And my computer's freaking out just a little bit, but it's okay, guys. It'll work its way through that. All right, now it is time to turn our attention to the mailbag. But before we do, give me just one OMFL winning prediction. Just out of the blue, when we get a little closer, we'll break it down and who's in, who's out, who's going to actually win it. But if you had to pick the OMFL champion right now, who's your OMFL champion?
Screw it, because I love that he's doing so good. Let's go, Hurt!
Wow, Hurt winning OMFL Bowl number 103. You heard it there from Mr. Trey. I think I'm going to pick Denbrew. I think Denbrew really wants another one. I don't know if D-Money's going to be around for the holidays. Just, my head goes D-Money, D-Wayne. Those are also boring predictions. It wouldn't surprise any of us if those guys won it all. I like Denbrew. 3rd time in the OMFL Bowl. Get a 2nd championship. And then just continue to pile those things up and become one of those owners here that just kind of etches their name in OMFL lore and becomes one of those guys that we always talk about. All right, time to open up the OMFL mailbag. We got a couple questions here. The first one comes from our guy, Shocked. Give us your 7 playoff teams from each conference. We sort of did that, but I will ask it this way. Who's one team, shockingly, that you think no one is thinking about or talking about, but they're going to make a run and get in the playoffs?
You know what? You, Nate.
Oh.
I don't think anybody's thinking that you're going to keep your success up from last year. I think you're experiencing that little rookie trauma, but I think you're going to pick it up in the second half of the season and make a run for the playoffs.
Who is one team that didn't make the playoffs? This is Shock's second question. One team that didn't make the playoffs last season that will make it this season. My answer is low-hanging fruit. It's easy. I'm going with Nipples.
I'm going with Carolina.
Also would not shock me.
Yeah.
I think that guy is super underrated. It kind of like he just hasn't made that deep run to make people pay attention, but he's always there in contention. Shock's third fan. Go ahead.
I think he's going to be a little bit ticked off that he lost the tiebreakers.
Yep, 100%. Third question from Shocks. In Madden, what would you rather, stacked offense or stacked defense?
As a person that loves defense, I will always say stacked defense because it's a lot easier to play offense than it is to play defense.
Yeah, I'm going stacked offense because I think guys on offense normally, now Trey is one of the exceptions. Dwayne is one of those exceptions. D-Money, even though he's become less of the exception the last couple of Maddens, even though he's still pretty up there. But most guys are going to turn the ball over. They're going to make some mistakes throwing the ball. And so I think you can get away with an average or above average because you didn't say they had to be bad. I think you can get away with a slightly above average defense, but a really good stacked offense that gives you lots of options, allows you to mix it up, allows you to attack teams running, passing, several wide receivers. The teams that give me fits are the guys that can run with their quarterback, have a good 1 or 2 punch from the running back, have several good receivers, have a good tight end. Like, you can't key on anybody. They can go anywhere at any time. What makes those offenses so difficult to contend with? Give me a stacked offense. Dwayne, he says, is the touchdown to interception ratio closer this season where you want it to be? Let's go take a look because I actually don't know where it is right now. And I think it's still early. I think we're going to see a slight spike anytime that you have rookie quarterbacks, and this is going to be first season where we have rookie quarterbacks playing. You're just going to get a little bit of a spike there. Come on, Madden. Let's
looking pretty decent with the exception of the Bengals.
I would get 8-3 with Matthew Stafford, 8-10 with Joe Burrow. Yeah, 7-3 with Sam Howell. Yannick Blase, 6-1. Rogers, 6-1. Really good for you. Ryder, 6-3. Jones, 5-1. Yeah, Ritter, 5-5. Pickett, or Dickerson. It says Pickerson, but his name's Dickerson. 5-1. Fields, 5-2. 4-1 for Russell Wilson. So, yeah, it's looking really, really nice. Maybe a little too nice. We'll have to continue to keep an eye on those. Some of those games are 3 games in. Some are just 2 games in. So, I think this is a great question to kind of look back on at like week number 8 and kind of see where we are halfway through. What would you do to counter an opposing team with an elite DL user? I don't have any answers. I don't know what to do for users, period. Users get insta-shed on me. I hate it. I will just openly admit, if you play me and you user defensive line, 1 play a game, I don't care if it's 1 play or 100 plays. I just want you to know on those plays, I hate you. I literally am fuming when I see someone user a defensive lineman. I allow it. It's what we do here. Like, we try to open it up for guys. I just hate it. It feels cheesy. It feels easy. It's insta-shed. Doesn't matter how good or how bad your left tackle over. They can't get a hand on some of these defensive ends, much less defensive tackles. It drives me insane. Anyway, what do you say against guys that have really good user defensive tackles? What do you do?
The quick pass attack has been, I've noticed it a lot. When I play a guy that's using me a lot and I hit him with a bunch of quick passes, they start to go back to playing linebacker or DB, and then I just sit back and play the run game or deep pass game because they're not rushing me.
It is the strategy, right? And I completely agree with you. I think I personally struggle with it just because, Nate's the FPR guy. Like, I created FPR with a lot of help, and it's like I just feel the pressure to not use one thing to combat another, even though it is the strategy that guys should be using. If you're getting quick pressures, then you should be checking down, you should be running shorter routes, you should figure out some way to get him off of that user and start protecting himself against something else, or at least mix it up more, which will allow you to kind of mix it up more. Dwayne says, what type of player would you trade your first rounder for? I know you love to draft, but what kind of player would you take to make that move? That's a great question because I am a pick prostitute. I love picks in all shapes, sizes, and fashions, lower rounds, higher rounds. It doesn't matter to me. But if you were trading away your first rounder, what's that player got to look like?
Well, I did it this offseason. I had my pick at 26, and I shipped it over to Los Angeles for the Chargers and got myself Khalil Mack. I definitely have, there's certain guys I love the way they play, and Khalil Mack's one of them guys, and it's proven to be effective for me. In 3 games, he has 11 tackles, 6 TFLs, and 3 sacks.
Yeah, it's got to be an impact player. My knee jerk would be quarterback, but then some of me is like, it just depends on the contract, right? Like, because contracts are so tough. Like, it would really depend on the contract that I'm getting when I get that quarterback. But a quarterback who can make all the throws and can run, this is such a dangerous weapon to use. And I find that when my offense is at its best, when I won my OMFL Bowl a couple Maddens ago, it was with a mobile quarterback, and it allowed me to put in run pass option, quarterback option plays. Like it allowed me to add in a bunch of things that made my offense tougher to defend. And so, but at the same time, like if you go trade for a Lamar Jackson style of player, you're getting that style of contract. And in this Madden, that has to be considered. I would also like really consider it for like a shutdown defensive player, linebacker, middle linebacker, usually cornerback, right? Maybe safety, like a shutdown player who just makes plays, get you, those 6 to 12 interceptions a year, to get you the 12 to 20 sacks a year. That type of impact player would be somebody that you would have to consider. But it goes back to contracts. It goes back to how you want to build your team. Personally, I'd rather deal away established talent to get draft assets, allow me the cap flexibility, and hopefully I can go draft well and get the players that I need. Kevin, with 2 quick questions. What team do you think had a bad season in season 102, that will turn it around in season number 2, season 103? Now, we've talked a lot about missing teams, shocking teams, but we're talking specifically team that had a bad season that will turn it around this season. Who you got?
Well, I think Hurt's already shown that he had a rough season last year, and this season he's showing that he's stepping that game up. He's trying to enter that top 7 tier of the NFC. What happened? Time will tell.
Yep, I completely agree with you. I don't know. I'm going to go with the Texans and Roger. I know he's off to an 0-2 start. It depends on his health. It depends on how things come together. But I think that Roger, when he's able to play and focus and not worry about real life issues, that he is a very good player. He's going to figure out how to make that team win. I still like Roger. I think he should have made a move for a quarterback, or he needs to make a decision with the guys he has. I think that's going to be a big determining factor. But my heart's always going to go to Roger. And then finally, last question for the day. With the new contracts, let's start all over. All right, we're going to get the words out this time. With the new contracts, do you see the value in trading for elite guys and paying them big money? Or is it better to keep your picks and build guys up? We sort of touched on it a little bit from my perspective with the draft pick situation. I like to move assets that are costing you lots of money, maybe that are coming up at the end of their contracts, or maybe they just have such a large contract, you got to move it. Moving those assets to gather picks and go draft really well, there's always a bit of a disclaimer. Number one, some of the players you need to pay. Like there's some players you just need to pay that dude what he's worth and figure it out, right? So there are positions where you just pay the guy and you just figure it out on the back end. Equally, you don't just go make a draft for any draft picks at all. That's probably because it happened, Priest, before I refreshed, but I can go look at it before we get out of here. Let me do that real quick. The other thing. 32nd pick in the draft, right? You go trade for draft picks that are going to give you that high value. What do you think? You paying stars? Or are you drafting and trying to gather some draft picks?
I'm more trying to get that roster now. As you know, as a top player, I'm in that win now motion. I don't really want to sit back and try to bring up a guy. If I can get a guy and help that I can bring him up well in this win now motion, more the merrier. But when you're tending to be sitting back in the final 7-8 picks of each round, it's hard to get those guys. So I'm more willing to trade the capital and pay a guy. And the perfect example of the mistake I made already in Madden this year, and what's proving is I made the Khalil Mack trade. So far, it's working out for me. Last season, I traded for Kenny Golladay. It was a $19 million cap hit. I traded 2 third-round picks for him. I cut him in the offseason because he wasn't producing for me. So I ended up losing out on picks.
I think that's a perfect example of just picking and choosing kind of what makes the most sense. Priest, I want to save yours. Yours are really good. They're going to take some homework. And so we're going to save yours for next week and allow Priest, Trey and I, maybe even get Dwayne in here, but to go do a little bit of homework about the answers to that, because I actually don't know the early season trades. Also give a couple more weeks for any new trades, and I need to go do some homework on the quarterback, halfback, receiver questions. So we're going to save yours. We'll do it next week, and we'll start off the mailbag with that one. Yeah, so he did. He posted them in the mailbag. We'll get to it next week. Trey, thank you. Your predictions for season 103 are out. We even gave our predictions of who might represent the OMFL as the OMFL Bowl champion for season 103. We're at the end of our day. It's time to wrap things up and then maybe come back tonight and stream some PUBG if guys are around. But tomorrow's Wednesday. Thursday, I did take a couple hours and took a half a day block away. We're going to do some Warzone streaming. So if you want to check out the new Warzone 2, the new DMZ mode, come hang out with Pootie T and I as we do that on Thursday.
Pop in for that.
Probably also doing it Wednesday night, but Thursday we're going to do some giveaways. Warzone Wednesdays are trying to come back. We're trying to get more people involved, so come hang out with us for Warzone Wednesdays. Guys, I love you. Trey, give me some closing thoughts. We wrap up our predictions for season 103.
My one personal closing thought?
Yeah.
I might have a problem. I obviously was known to the public that I got Aiden Hutchinson suspended because I, messed up on cap penalties. His replacement decided to have 4.5 sacks, and well, he's gone, but now he's injured, so I have that problem. League thoughts: everybody's playing well, and we're getting competitive games, and I love it.
Yep, that's a problem because luckily for you, though, those guys are going to be on pretty nice contracts. So maybe you've got a couple bookends that you can just forget about. We also have a couple other teams that are over the cap. We're looking into it because if you have an incentive, you actually have some extra cap room. Hence why Nate is over the cap penalty limit, because I had an incentive that I earned that allows me extra, and I'm under that incentive. We also allowed some teams to go over, even the teams that were already over, if they're trading away one of the draftees from last Madden or last draft, because like I did, because it allows you, or like Trey and I did, because it allows guys who didn't want those picks, didn't need those picks that have. Look, the Bucs drafted 2 quarterbacks. He didn't want 2 quarterbacks. Trey drafted a quarterback. He didn't want a first-round draft pick. So we allowed guys to go over. So anyway, long and short of it is we got somebody looking into it just to make sure no one else is over the cap that shouldn't be. If you go over the cap, number one, you got to get underneath the salary cap. And number two, it does come with a suspension for 4 weeks. And we did have a couple guys that went over that. A couple guys had to go over that because they were like me in my weird Saints situation with all these crazy cap real life numbers. But we're going to continue to try to work with guys. Guys, I appreciate you. Trey, thanks for hanging out with me on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. We will be back with you next Monday afternoon, 3:30 Central Time. So come hang out, fill out the mailbag with your more questions. Priest, you're up first. I'm going to go make sure I put in who already did the mailbag questions. We'll see you guys next time. I love you. You matter. We'll see you.
Smash that like and subscribe.